Today, we're diving into one of the most intense, high-stakes showdowns in all of sacred history. We're talking about a debate between a prophet of God and a king who genuinely believed he was a god. It doesn't get much bigger than this.
Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you. You know, we start with this traditional greeting because it really sets the right tone, one of peace, respect, and deep reflection for the incredible story we're about to explore from the Quran.
So this entire epic confrontation, it all boils down to this one question. But don't be fooled. This isn't a question coming from a place of curiosity. Oh no, this is a challenge, a dismissal, thrown down with all the arrogance a king can summon. It's an attack on the very foundation of the prophet's message.
Okay, so to really get what's going on here, we first need to understand the two men standing at the center of it all. This wasn't just a clash of ideas. Their history was personal, it was tangled, and it was absolutely loaded with tension.
I mean, just look at this dynamic. It's incredible. On one side, you have Moses, or Musa. He's carrying a message from God. But in the eyes of the state, he's a wanted man, a fugitive. And the irony is just staggering. He grew up in the very palace of the man he's now confronting. And on the other side, you have Pharaoh, the absolute ruler of Egypt, a man worshipped as a living god, and, in this unbelievable twist, the very man who was Moses' adoptive guardian. The power imbalance is just off the charts, and that personal history makes the whole thing a ticking time bomb.
So how does Pharaoh, this self-proclaimed god on earth, handle this challenge from Moses? Well, he doesn't even touch the message. He doesn't debate the idea. His first move is a classic tactic for people in power. He makes it personal. He tries to tear down the messenger so he never has to deal with the message. It's a pattern we see again and again through history, right? When power feels threatened, attack the person, not the idea.
Wow. Pharaoh's words here are just a masterclass in psychological warfare. He's doing more than just bringing up a past mistake. He's painting Moses as this ungrateful traitor. The subtext is dripping with contempt. We took you in, we raised you, and this is how you repay us. You come here and challenge me? Who are you to talk about anything? He's trying to publicly shame Moses into silence. But Moses' response is just brilliant. It's a three-part masterstroke. First, he doesn't run from his past. He owns it with humility. He says, yes, I made a mistake. Second, he credits his change, his growth, to God, who gave him wisdom and this mission. And then here comes the knockout punch. He completely reframes Pharaoh's so-called favor. He turns the personal attack right back around and makes it about Pharaoh's own injustice. He's essentially asking, you call it a favor that you raised one child from an entire nation that you have brutally enslaved? Is that what you call kindness?
So after that move, Pharaoh's personal attack is just dead in the water. It completely backfired. He's forced to change his strategy. He can't attack the man anymore, so now he has to go after the authority behind the man, the very God that Moses says he represents. And here we are, right back at that big question. Only now, we hear it for what it really is. It's a sneer. It's mockery. For a man who thinks he's the center of the universe, this idea of a lord of the worlds is just ridiculous. He isn't actually asking for information. He's mocking the very concept. Now, what's so smart about Moses' answer is he doesn't just give a name. He describes what God does and how vast his authority is. First, he says God is the creator of everything, the heavens, the earth, all of it. Second, he's the eternal sustainer, the Lord of you, me, and all of our ancestors. And third, God is all-encompassing. His authority isn't just over Egypt, it's over the East, the West, and everything in between. He's defining a universal, all-powerful Lord, a concept way beyond Pharaoh's little bubble of power. And this incredible cosmic definition of God, Pharaoh has no answer for it. None. He can't argue with it. And when his arguments dry up, that's when the mask of the sophisticated king begins to crack, and he falls back on the only thing he has left, brute force.
And you can just see the classic playbook of a tyrant unfolding. Step 1, mockery. He turns to his court, trying to make Moses look foolish. You guys hearing this? Step 2, when that doesn't work, is slander. He just calls him crazy. This messenger of yours is clearly mad. And finally, when both reason and ridicule fail, the iron fist comes out. The threat is laid bare. Worship me or you're going to prison.
All right, this is where it all comes to a head. It's an incredible moment. Pharaoh has put his cards on the table. The threat of human force, of imprisonment, and Moses is about to counter with a display of power that Pharaoh can't even begin to comprehend.
So Pharaoh, backed into a corner, but so blinded by his own arrogance, he doesn't even see it, makes his biggest mistake yet. He calls Moses' bluff. He dares him. Fine, show me. Bring this proof of yours, if you're telling the truth. He's absolutely convinced it's all just empty talk.
So Pharaoh asks for proof, and boy, does Moses deliver. He presents two signs that are just impossible to deny. He throws down his staff, and right there in front of everyone, it becomes a living, slithering snake. Then, he pulls his hand from his cloak and it shines with this brilliant, supernatural white light for everyone to see. These aren't illusions. These are clear, obvious miracles, a display of power totally beyond anything in Pharaoh's world.
And just like that, the debate's over. Done. The arguments, the threats, the back and forth, it's all finished. Pharaoh demanded a truth he could see with his own eyes, and now he's staring at a truth that's tangible, visible, and absolutely undeniable. You know, this whole story leaves us with this huge, timeless question that still matters so much today. We just watched a debate where logic, reason, and morality were completely shut down by someone with absolute power. It really makes you think, when powerful people refuse to listen to words, what form does the truth have to take to finally make itself heard?